All right, we're back. Personal Health Care Reform Talk Show on Pegasus Net Waves, taking your health to a higher level. And today, this show is awesome. It's off the chain. It's you're gonna love this show. Parents, listen up. Parents, this show is for you and the kids. Okay, because I have Dr. Yolandra Hancock on with me. She's with the Children's National Medical Center and Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. That's right. She's big time. You need to listen to this show. So before we get going, check out clintfuquay.com, the 4 steps to health on there, clintsprograms.com, personalhealthcarereform.com. Check out everything on Facebook. In fact, we're going to do Health in the News, which is going to be very, very quick. Check all that out on the Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter. Watch everything happen on Instagram, Pinterest, Google+. Check out all the videos on YouTube, all the old shows on Spreaker. Guess what? The old shows are all up. There's 60 shows on there now. Check it out. There's more on the way too. That's right, I updated. It's also on SoundCloud. Idea Fit for all this stuff I've done in the past for health and wellness, and why you need to work with me. More importantly, and then of course Men's Fitness. I have my second article in there. How cool is that? Rocks Digital. I did a blog for them about Pokemon Go. You need to read this, okay? Seriously, read it. And then of course Offbeat Business. Brand new article coming out in there, probably about the next week. Check that one out. It's all about manual. Save the manuals. You'll get it when you read it. And Living the Dream magazine, I'll start doing some stuff for them as well. All of my health partners, Human Helping Unite Mankind Nutrition. Basically, you got an office, you need to feed your people. This is how you feed them well, okay? MedCall Pro, I'll have them on here. We're going to be talking about telemedicine with them in their program. An ER doctor on the phone, it's awesome. Ultra Lab tests. This way you get your lab test done for 20 to 80% off. 2,500 locations around the U.S. Awesome service there. Everything well. That way you can do some blood testing at home in the privacy of your home. Right now they have food sensitivities and fertility testing. Okay, 2 biggies right now. That way you don't have to see your doctor. They send everything to you. It's awesome stuff. Icon Meals. School's back in session, which means it's going to be tougher and tougher and tougher to make those meals. This way, you hit up Icon Meals, you use code CBFIT, you get it for 10% off. Guess what? They do the cooking for you. It's healthy, it's tasty, it's great stuff. Kinesi, brand new stuff coming out from Kinesi this fall. We'll talk about that later. Of course, I love my Kinesi. It's awesome stuff. Thrive Market, instead of going to the store, wasting time there, you can go online, point and click. They send everything to you. Organic, vegan, paleo, whatever your thing is, they've got it, okay, at half price, which is even better. And American Diabetes Association in North Texas, tons of stuff going on with them. You're going to hear more about that later. In fact, I'll have them on the show very soon. And Ideal Life, tons of stuff. Speaking of my guest that's coming on, guess who she's partnered with? Ideal Life. Guess who put together everything for our children's health line? She did. Listen up, it's awesome. Oh yeah, for your kids, you got to have our stuff. And last but not least, Zero Water. Zero Water has come on board, so I'm going to be an ambassador for them. Get ready to see cool new stuff. I'm going to be giving away stuff from Zero Water, by the way. If you'd like a water filter for yourself, you might be able to get one for free. I've been using it for like 3 years. Awesome stuff. And they're giving away free filters to the people in Flint, Michigan, for everyone that's sold. How about that? Awesome company. All right, so stuff that's going on. September 18th, Jared's Epic Super Soaker Battle at FC Dallas Toyota Stadium. You got to be there. Awesome event, helping out flood victims. Plus, we're gonna set a world record. And Jared's an awesome guy, so help him out. Second off, he's got another event, Poke Skate 2. So all you Pokemon Go people that love to go hunting Pokemon, there will be tons of Pokemon in the place. You can skate around, hunt them down. You don't have to worry about being mugged, which is a bonus. He's going to be DJing. It's going to be an awesome event. They had like 600 people there at the last one. It's in Plano. Check out my pages for that. Divots for Diabetes, little golf tournament for the ADA, coming up on October the 18th. Contact me about that. And, of course, November 5th, Step Out Walk. So if you haven't yet, join my team. Let's raise some money. Let's help some people out, okay? And, of course, I'll be out there helping out with warm-up and cool-down and all that stuff with PhysioFit. And Health in the News. I'm going to run through this right quick because I got like a minute. So, infant formulas. 30 of them contaminated with high levels of aluminum. You need to find out which ones those are. They're on naturalnews.com, and in fact, if you go to my Facebook page, this story is there for you, so you can just click on it. Good Morning America did an awesome story about a guy that did the Walmart diet. He walked 1 mile to 1 mile back to his house every time he was hungry. The man used to weigh 600 pounds. He's now down to 250. Looks great, too. So that's one way of doing it. Lamarck Bravado with Care Starter. He's going to do a huge event with Star Kids for the rollout for that. That'll be September 1st at 10 a.m. He's going to do a live broadcast about that in Care Starter. And remember, he was on the show. He's awesome. By the way, that show's in the archives. Panera. Panera says no to unhealthy kids' meals. That's right. Panera's taking a lead on unhealthy meals for everybody, including the kids. So if you want to take your kids someplace to eat, Panera, thumbs up. Awesome stuff there. That is health in the news. Like I said, I'm going to rip through that quickly. And but definitely listen to this show. Yolandra is a rock star. She's awesome. You're going to love everything she has to put here on the show for you. Great tips from her. And come back for the next show as well. We're going to talk about food deserts and how to end that in the cities. So there's that. Have a great day. Check out clintfuquay.com. 4 steps to health. You have to do step number 2, though. You know what step number 2 is? That's your health assessment. It will save your life. Literally, it will save your life. So there's that. Have a great day. Come back. Listen to Yolandra. She's awesome.
Hey everybody, this is Blake Miller. I own a company called Ozone Purity, where we flood the body with oxygen. If anybody's are worried about this getting toxic and full of the pollution out there in the world, come see us. We specialize in something called ozone therapy, flooding the body with electrical oxygen. We have little steam saunas, and we pump ozone through the system and just release all the waste. We're at Addison Beltline. Website is www.ozonepurity.com, or go to our app. You can see all of our products, all of our services on your app store under Ozone Purity.
Hi, I'm Blake Hammerton, and I am from The Sharp Gentleman. If you're in the DFW area and you could look better than you do, or your husband could look better than he does, I am here to help. With custom-tailored menswear to fit all walks of life, bodies, shapes, and sizes, I am here to make sure you look your sharpest. You can reach me at 972-383-9607 and www.thesharpgentleman.com.
All right, we are back. Personal Health Care Reform Talk Show on Pegasus Net Waves, taking your health to a higher level. And today's the show of shows, actually. So I have a rock star, I have a superstar calling in today. That's right, calling in from way far away, close to D.C. And so we're going to talk about children's health since school's back in session. Ding, ding, ding. So what to do for the kids, how to keep them healthy this school year. We're going to talk about some obesity stuff and everything else that happens with kids because, well, this woman is absolutely fantastic, incredible as far as all this stuff goes. So, Dr. Yolandra Hancock, thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, love to have you on here. Of course, we just from some background for everybody, we got to meet a couple months ago at a huge convention for Friday Life. And of course, you went up on stage, and you rocked it on stage. You were awesome up there.
Thank you.
There was not a dry eye in the place when you were up there. Most of the kids were laughing about you getting fired from teaching Zumba a couple times, but
not because of my skill set.
Yeah, your skill set and the whole story and everything. No, that wasn't a tearjerker at all. Anyway, so yeah, you're absolutely fantastic. If you'll give my audience here some background on you as far as who you are, where you came from, some of your background, what you're doing now, where all you work, because I know you're involved with quite a few different organizations.
Right.
And believe me, people, y'all are going to be so impressed after you hear this.
Excellent. So I'm originally from Louisiana, a small town called Independence in Tangipahoa Parish. I'm keeping them in my prayers. That's where a lot of the flooding is happening, or happened, and they're in the recovery process now. I transitioned from Louisiana to California, Southern California, when I was close to 9 years old, and spent majority of my childhood and adulthood in San Diego and then in Los Angeles. I attended UCLA for both undergrad and for medical school. Go Bruins. And continued on in doing my pediatric residency training at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. I transitioned out to the East Coast in 2005. I accepted a position at Children's National Medical Center out in Washington, D.C. As a community pediatrician. Because of my interest in health, wellness, and in childhood obesity, I started targeting my practice in the area of childhood obesity and developed expertise in that area. And that's part of what I do now. I wear a lot of different hats. I still serve as a community pediatrician. I still provide direct obesity care for children dealing with overweight and obesity. I actually expanded out what I do. I found that in working with the parents, if I did not sort of target them and figure out where their health challenges were, it really didn't make a huge difference in how I counseled them in terms of weight management for their children. So I got additional training, pursued an MPH at Johns Hopkins University out in Baltimore to be able to work with people across the age spectrum in terms of health, wellness, chronic disease management, and obesity. So that's part of what I do. I am part owner of a wellness center out in Crofton, Maryland, by the name of CIC Wellness Center. I teach at GW. I was actually on a call just before I'm called in with you guys to discuss plans for this upcoming academic year. I teach students how to engage the community in addressing health issues and using community assets to achieve better health outcomes. And so that's several of the many hats that I wear, not to mention the fact that I'm a wife and mother and occasional Zumba instructor when I'm not fired from my position.
Seriously, that was the funniest story ever, because the guy had no idea who you are, and he's firing you. It's like, yeah.
That was my thought. I was like, oh, okay. And, I certainly don't hold a grudge, obviously not because we work together now. I actually do a lot of corporate wellness for URA Fitness and do some of the nutritional components of what he does in his URA Wellness business. And so it's funny how things play out because, I give people their space to do their thing, and if I so choose, I will connect back with them depending on how we broke up. But I always tease him that he is one of my business husbands, and like in any relationship, there's a fallout. Mm-hmm. But if the relationship is genuine and true, you guys come back together, and that's certainly where we have found ourselves.
Yep, very good, very good. And everybody out there, as you heard, like I said, absolute rock star, incredible. Which I'm ecstatic you're on the show. Plus, everybody out there, she's gorgeous. If you get to see some pictures, I'll post some pictures. I'm going to post the picture of you and me there at the event.
Excellent.
And you're itty bitty. You're not quite 4'8" of awesome, but you're like 5 foot of awesome.
Thank you. 5 feet high and rising. Yeah. In my head, I feel like I'm 6 feet tall, but in actuality, I'm about 5'2".
Yeah, and your daughter is just absolutely she's precious. All the
Thank you. I'm raising a health and wellness expert. She went to a birthday party, looked around, and she said, "Why all this juice? Where's the agua?" And I felt it was like one of my proud mommy moments.
I'm patting myself on the back right now.
Exactly.
All the rest of you people are hating me, but I'm patting myself on the back.
Exactly.
So let's get into since we're going to be talking about children's health and everything, and then school is back in session. Let's start off with part of your personal connection with children's wellness. Why you got involved in it. Actually, how you got involved, why you got involved, because it's a great story, and it gives some great connection, and will help some other people out, get that connection themselves.
Sure. So I've always had a passion in terms of working with children. Even when I was a little girl, I used to teach Sunday school. I wanted to be a doctor since I was about 7, and it really linked back to watching my own family members suffer as a result of lack of access to care. I thought initially I was going to become a plastic surgeon and repair craniofacial deformities. I was a PBS nerd growing up. We didn't have cable. And so I watched a lot of PBS and watched a Brazilian surgeon travel around the world doing exactly what I wanted to do. And when I got to UCLA and met up with plastic surgeons and found out what route I would have to take, it gave me pause. And then my sophomore year at UCLA, one of my cousins died as a result of meningitis, and she could have survived it, but her maternal grandmother, not our shared grandmother, didn't have access to a physician. And as a result of that, my cousin ended up dying several weeks after her 4th birthday. And that's what made me realize it doesn't matter if I fix little ones' faces if I can't do what needs to be done to make sure they can actually reach their 5th birthday. And that's what really committed me to pediatrics. It wasn't until I started practicing in pediatrics and I started to see children in the late 90s, early 2000s dealing with health issues related to weight gain that I really became more intrigued about working with them. I think the benefit of growing up in Southern California is that it's, for the most part, a very healthy way of living. In Louisiana, if it wasn't fried, it wasn't right. And in California, exercise for me was just a way of life. It wasn't because I needed to lose weight or anything like that. It's just that that's what we did. And so in spending time with children who did not have that same interest and then seeing them gaining weight, it made me very interested in working with them and their families in terms of achieving better health. And not to mention the fact that my own family, having not had the best health habits, were dealing with a lot of health issues, really because of lifestyle. It wasn't really until I got really involved in pediatric obesity. One of the stories that I share often is that there was an 18-year-old young man who participated in one of the community-based obesity intervention programs that I created east of the river in southeast D.C. He was a little over 4 feet tall and weighed well over 300 pounds, and ended up in the foster system because his mother was incapable of caring for him in a way that helped him in terms of weight management. He was admitted to an inpatient weight management hospital and had some success there, but every time he'd go back home, he'd end up gaining weight. Eventually, he ended up participating in our program and had some pretty moderate success in terms of achieving healthier habits, but then he was lost to follow-up. And, you know, in a busy practice, you forget kids, to be honest with you. You know, doctors don't like to admit it, but we do. We lose kids to follow-up. And it wasn't until I was reading in a local newspaper in D.C. a story about him and the struggles that he was experiencing in terms of his weight. And at the end of the story, it was to share that he had died of obesity-related causes. And for an 18-year-old child to die of, like, no one should die of obesity-related causes, but certainly not an 18-year-old young man who hasn't even really fully lived his life. And that's when it really weighed heavily on my heart to do exactly what I do in terms of affecting change across all ages. Because whether you are 18 or 81, there are lifestyle decisions that we make that impact our health and cut our lives short. And especially for the children, they have so much potential. It's an absolute shame that they don't reach that full potential because of lifestyle changes that they either themselves make or that they model based on what they have seen their parents, their grandparents, and everyone around them doing. And that's really why I do what I do.
Yeah, like I said, you know, you've got some phenomenal stories on things that you have helped out with, and then, you know, issues like that that really do, you know, hit home for a lot of people. Let's put some numbers out there right quick, just so people can see the size of this thing that we're dealing with as far as childhood obesity. Some historic numbers, because I mean you've been dealing with this for a while, and you know some of the past numbers and where we're at now with numbers as far as childhood obesity. What the percentages are, how many have it versus back in the 90s, and some of the costs of this.
Right. So if you look back over the past 30 years, what we are seeing is that obesity has more than doubled in children, so between the 6 and 11-year-old age range, and it's actually quadrupled in adolescents in the past 30 years. And we started to see spikes in the latter part of the 80s, entering into the 90s. So you're talking about maybe about 5% of children being obese back in the 80s. But then when you transition that to the current state, you're looking at close to 20% of children being obese. And again, that's for little ones between the ages 6 and 11, and then going from 5% to over 20% for teens. When you include overweight, because children who are overweight are at risk for obesity, those numbers skyrocket up to close to 30% of all children either being overweight or obese. And then when you sort of tease it out further and look at certain communities, for instance, in the Latino community, close to 40% of Latino children are either overweight or obese. And amongst African American children, and this is regardless of income, their obesity and overweight rates are close to 35%. And, you know, when you think about almost half of children being either overweight or obese, 50% of children who are classified as obese will become obese adults and deal with the issues that involve being obese. And, you know, certainly we can get into that in a little bit further, but there are also costs associated with children dealing with obesity. So children who are classified as obese have more frequent emergency room visits. They require more prescription drugs. In terms of their health issues, for instance, children with obesity have more frequent asthma. They have more poorly managed asthma, which then requires more medications to manage it. And just in general, outpatient costs end up being more. And you're looking at about $14 billion a year of added costs based on a child's weight. And when we think about inpatient costs, because children who are obese also deal with more chronic medical conditions that lead them to being hospitalized overnight, you're looking at an additional $200 million per year that it's costing to take care of children because of weight issues. And when we project this out, as I mentioned before, if 50% of children then become obese adults, we're looking at close to $150 billion in anticipated health care expenditures when these children become adults.
Oh, yeah, at the very least. And most of them, you know, we know from just looking at stats and everything that, you know, their parents will potentially outlive them.
Exactly. This is the statistics and the studies show that this will be the first generation to have a shorter life expectancy than that of their parents. The first time in the history of man that this is going to happen. And we're starting to see some slowing of obesity rates in the 2 to 5 year old age range, and I have to give credit where credit is due in terms of early childhood education, in terms of WIC programs, in terms of effectiveness, in terms of breastfeeding campaigns. We're starting to see a slower shift. So in that generation, we are seeing some improvement. But from 6 and beyond, we're still seeing the same rates of obesity and the costs that we're talking about. And we're talking, these are just health-related costs. We're not talking about productivity in the workforce once these children become adults, because studies have also shown that people dealing with weight issues when it comes to chronic diseases, they're, one, not as productive. 2, there's a higher rate of absenteeism because of health-related issues. So not only are we impacting the budget in terms of healthcare costs, but we're going to impact our GDP in terms of productivity, because this generation of children, we're going to be dealing with more disability, we're going to be dealing with less productivity, and it's going to fully impact the United States economically if we don't step in and do something.
All right. And well, the U.S. military, they're having huge issues with the recruitment, not because they don't have people coming up to be recruited, they can't qualify because of weight issues. There's no way for them to get in. So let's talk about some ways to solve these issues. So you know, everything starts at home. So let's start off with a few things, you know, parents right now can look at for doing around the house the next couple of months while the kids are in school. How do they start making some improvements at the house? Because they got to start it. They got to do it. Monkey see, monkey do most of the time on this.
Exactly.
So if you're telling the kids you're not doing it, well, guess what? Guess who else is not going to do it? And guess who's going to be revolting all the time? So let's start off with some at-home suggestions, and we'll look at what can be done at school as well.
You alluded to the first one that I always talk to parents about, and that's leading by example. So children learn by what they see, not necessarily by what they hear. Because if what you're telling them to do completely contradicts what you do, they aren't going to listen. They're not going to buy into it. So that's the first thing, is to make sure that as parents, we are the people that we want our children to become. In terms of how we eat, avoiding meal skipping, making sure that the healthy options are the ones that we choose. In terms of sugar beverage, making sure that they see us drinking water, that we're not sitting there hogging the remote control because we're not being physically active. It's hard to tell a child to go outside and play, and you sat on your behind all day watching television.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part of it is being mindful of the messaging that you give. So if you're dealing with a child who has weight issues, you don't want to focus it on his or her weight, because the last thing you want to do is create more problems. You don't want to cause self-esteem issues. You don't want to cause food battles. And instead, you make it about a full, healthy shift within the family. So everyone, whether their sibling is appropriate weight, underweight, whatever the case may be, make it a family wellness movement so that there is buy-in from the child who may be struggling with his or her weight. And then the last thing is really to have sort of something that you can hold on to, that you can implement on a daily basis. And for all of my families, we talk about 5210. And that's 5 fruits and vegetables every single day, 2 hours or less of anything that has an on-off switch. So that's a television, an iPhone, iPad, notebook, Kindle, you name it. If it is not school-related and it is simply to watch for entertainment, then it should be limited to no more than 2 hours. 1 hour of physical activity. So some of my patients will actually sneak in an additional hour of screen time because they'll do what's called extra gaming. So they'll incorporate their Wii, their Xbox, etc., but they'll be doing more physical activity as it relates to the video game. And then the last is 0, which is 0 to very little sugar-sweetened beverage and 0 meal skipping. And for a lot of parents, that meal skipping, they aren't aware of it until they come in to see me for their annual checkup before school, because I ask all of those questions. I ask them about their breakfast and what they eat, their lunch and what they eat. And that's when parents will find out, one, they're aware that their children skip breakfast because more often than not they're skipping it themselves, but then they'll learn that their children are also skipping meals at lunchtime and will end up going to a convenience store or to a fast food establishment after school and end up gaining weight that way because they're pretty much starving themselves until they finish school. And then by the time they get out, they're ravenously hungry, and our bodies are wired to eat highly caloric foods when we're in that state. And it's hard to tell a child not to eat that stuff when we know for ourselves, if we're honest with ourselves, that those are the same food choices that we make when we have skipped meals.
Okay, thank you for that. We actually have to go now because it's been an awesome segment. I only have so much time here. So, and yeah, with that, whenever they start doing the whole skipping meals and then eating McDonald's later on, the attitudes go up and the grades go down, which is
exactly
good.
That's exactly it.
Any closing thoughts from you before we get out of here? Resources for parents out there?
I would just remind everyone that it truly does take a village to raise children and to keep them healthy. And as adults, we need to make sure that they reach their full health potential, including where they live, where they learn, and where they play. Schools are just as important as the home environment, and we need to make sure that our children are maintaining great health both in school and in the home.
Okay, all right. Thank you for coming on. You are awesome. You're a rock star. I can't wait to see you next time you're in Dallas. And any contact info for you at your place?
Definitely. You can reach me on Twitter at Delta Health Doc. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. My Facebook page is Delta Health and Wellness. And always feel free. You can shoot me an email, deltadoc02@gmail.com.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. And for everybody else out there, come back for the next episode. It's going to be awesome. We're actually going to talk about food deserts and how to end that issue with my buddy over at hungerstops.com. Okay? All right. Thank you. See everybody at the next episode.